We have packed our gear and bought foodstuffs the day before. The expedition is departing at dawn. Today we are going on an expedition along the northeastern foothills of the Zhetysu Alatau together with Pavel Shitik, a professional expedition organizer. Pasha, tell us about the expedition's objectives. I propose exploring all interesting tourist locations from Talgat Turgeldinov down to Lake Alakol. In 2022, Kazakhstan's president proposed splitting Almaty region into parts. We are now at the outskirts of the city of Talgat Turgeldinov, the administrative center of Zhetysu region. Next stop is the village of Kapal. Today, the highway from Almaty to the Basty checkpoint goes through exactly the same places that the northern branch of the Great Silkway crossed thousands of years ago. Hundreds of mounds are located along the road. Some of them have already underwent archaeological examination. By the beginning of the 1st millennium BC, the eastern branch of the Scythian tribes leading a settled nomadic lifestyle, which historians now call the Saka, started forming powerful tribal unions. Linguists believe that the ethnonym Saka goes back to the Scythian word dia. The Saka Tigra Hauda in pointed hats living in the Tian Shan foothills are mentioned in Persian, Assyrian, and Indian sources. The trade route from China to the Black Sea, referred to by historians as the Great Silkway, appeared in the second half of the 1st millennium BC. Intermittently, it operated for about 2,000 years and lost its significance only in the 17th century during the era of great geographical discoveries. Unable to withstand competition with maritime trade, the cities and caravanserais in the Tian Shan foothills decayed. 300 years have passed since then, and on the ancient tracks, on the ruins of former cities, the new Great Silkway is emerging once again. In one of the roadside cafes, we talked to several modern-day caravanbashi. I am a truck driver and deliver goods to Kazakhstan, Russia, Belarus, and Europe. Yes, as they say, we have seen the world. We see how people live. Take Sweden, for instance. People there are very simple and respectful. Once on the way, we met a person. We were sitting and eating pizza. And it turned out that he was an Italian minister. He was wearing jeans. So he told us that truckers do know the economy well. He told us that we can count very well. Absolutely. Like 3 or even 1,000 years ago, today if trade routes generate income, merchants and truckers pay taxes, stay in hotels and buy food in roadside cafes, all this allows a region to develop. Already in ancient times, the ruler of each area through which the Silkway passed was vitally interested in creating the most comfortable conditions for trade caravans. They built caravanserais with saunas and wells, stocked up on food for horses and camels, as well as hired guards to protect against robbers. Take Norway, for instance. The people there are very polite and are never rude. The police work for the benefit of taxpayers. There are no problems in Europe. The transport police can stop you to check your tachograph and that's it. If everything is fine, then they just let you go. If not, they will issue a fine. According to the rules, in the EU, truckers can drive no more than 9 hours a day. We wish our new friend to get from Europe to China without any troubles. and we continue our search for worthy tourist spots. Pasha, 45 kilometers from Talgat Turgeldinov, our landmark will be the monument to Kapal Batyr. There we will turn to the village of Kapal, and after about 40 kilometers, we should reach the Kalakai Sanctuary. Kapal Batyr is first mentioned in Shokan Walikanov's Journey Through Jungaria. He was a commander, a comrade in arms of Taukel and Yesim Khan, and a native of southern Kazakhstan. He came to Zhetysu to fight the Jungars and help his people. He died here, and the village of Kapal was named in his honor. In the early 17th century, Turkestan was the capital city of the Kazakh Khanate. The Batyr spent most of his life in the south defending the Sirdarya lands. In 1627, taking advantage of the struggle for the throne between Yesim Khan and Khan Tursun, the Jungars invaded Zhetysu. Having gathered the army, Khan Yesim came forward to meet the invaders, with Kapal Batyr commanding one of the detachments. He died on the slopes of Mount Yeshki-Olmes. The mausoleum was built in 1992. Before that, there was a stone grave. Today it has become a popular tourist destination. Are foreign tourists only interested in natural beauties, extreme or ethnic tourism? Or do they also want to learn about Kazakhstan's history? Different groups have different interests. Even if a person came here for the sake of mountains, on the way he or she will gladly get acquainted with the history, culture and national peculiarities of the country he or she came to. The village of Kapal was founded in 1847 and soon received the status of a city. During 1856-1867, Kapal served as the administrative center of the entire Zhetysu area, and after the capital's transfer to the city of Verny, it became a simple county town. In Soviet times, Kapal was a district center, and after the elimination of Talgat Turgeldinov region in 1997, it once again became a village. Like a butterfly, the village went through a series of wonderful transformations to become a quiet and cozy tourist place at the foot of the Zhetysu mountains. They transported the timber while building the city from the Kora River valley through the so-called Kapal Izos, the pass of the eponymous ridge. Now this natural monument is a rather popular tourist site with vehicle, equestrian and trekking routes going towards it. Some of them are for beginners, others are quite difficult, intended for professional athletes. The road to the highest Kazakhstan's waterfall, Burkan Bulak, also passes here. The total height of its 4 cascades is 168 meters. Our next task is to find the museum of the famous woman Akin Sara Tastanbek-Kizi, who lived in Kapal in the second half of the 19th century. There will be a green building. You'll see it. It looks like we are on the right track. This place doesn't look modern. As they say, feel yourself a stalker. This is a historical 19th century building. It was the house of some merchant, and then it was transformed into a museum. Now the ceiling and the floor have collapsed, but the walls of thick spruce logs are still intact and will survive another 200 years for sure. The house is really nice, but it doesn't look like the museum of Akin Sara. Searching further, this looks like exactly what we need. Look at this friendly guard. They started building the Kapal Hospital in 1856, the same year when Shokan Walikhanov came here. At the same time, they planted these trees. It's possible that Shokan himself planted this tree here. Semyonov Tianshansky underwent treatment in this hospital. Now it is the Museum of Akin Sara. Walikhanov also spent some time here in 1869 on the way back from his famous Kashgaria journey. Aygul Tuliganovna Alimbaeva, the museum's director, shared a lot of interesting things about her talented compatriot, poet Sara Tastanbek-Kizi. From a young age, having demonstrated her ability to poetic improvisation, Sara became known quite quickly far beyond Kapal's borders, yet her true popularity came after the famous Aites with the then recognized genre master Birjan Sal Kojagululi. In 1946, composer Mukan Tulibayev wrote the lyrical drama opera Birjan and Sara, based on Kazim Zhumaliev's libretto. Still today, it is quite popular and successfully staged in the best opera houses around the world. The lyrical treatment by Sara allowed the folk legend chanting Mount Bayan Jurek, heart of Bayan, playing out in fresh colors. Bayan, the daughter of a rich man, falls in love with a simple guy, Sayin Bulak. But the greedy father does not allow the young to unite. They die and the girl's tears flow down this wall of crying. The Bayan Jurek mountains are very picturesque. In addition, they are famous for the concentration of early Iron Age petroglyphs. Pasha, look at this art gallery. This is Morale. Check out the clear body shapes and proportion. Pay no attention to these two little men here, as some not very intelligent contemporary of ours has drawn them. The difference is quite clear. This here is patina, or the so-called tan, which means these drawings are ancient. Look at this archer here. How well the painter reflected the dynamics of the archer catching up with the animal galloping. The Tamshi Bulak spring is yet another popular tourist site. In Kazakh, Bulak means a spring, and Tamshi literally means drops or tears in a poetic sense. Multiple beautiful legends are associated with this spring, as well as a rather curious story. In 1846, the famous British artist and traveler Thomas Atkinson and his wife lived in Kapal for a year. They were so impressed with this spring that they even named their son, also born in Kapal, Alatau Tamshi Bulak. Thomas and Lucy Atkinson traveled across the Great Steppe for 4 years and left a rich legacy, many paintings, sketches and diaries. Our next stop, the Kalakai Sanctuary, is 50 kilometers away. On the left bank of the Bian River, the glacier brought out several very large stones. Some of them have these solar signs, a circle divided into 4 parts. A circle of stones is laid out around one of them. Let's go and check it out. The size of the monument is striking. The circle is about 100 meters in diameter. Archaeologists call such solar symbols resembling a wheel with 4 spokes oriented by the cardinal points the Sun cross. This line of stones goes strictly to the east, to the sunrise, and the next one to the south. Already in the Bronze Age, people clearly understood that the angle separating the south and the east is 90 degrees. Similar motifs are widespread in the Bronze Age cultural layers not only in Kazakhstan but also in Anatolia, Mesopotamia, Iran and in the Indus Valley. All these coincidences excite the imagination of researchers. It might be that our strange and beautiful world is interlinked with much closer and deeper bonds than it seemed before. Archaeologists have found many ancient chariots whose wheels with 4 spokes suspiciously resemble such solar symbols. You know, Pasha, this has never happened. Like, for example, the Andronians lived somewhere for some time and then merely disappeared. Then the Saka people suddenly appeared. And then instead of them, the Turkic tribes came around. Some people just used to live in one and the same place and, of course, sometimes mixed with some other tribes. Mixing, they formed other slightly different socio-cultural communities. The change was rather gradual and evolutionary. 3,500 years ago, the invention of combat chariot became a true revolution in the military sphere and pushed the nomads of Central Asia to long military expeditions. Naturally, this caused the spread of not only material but likewise spiritual culture. The Rig Veda, for instance, describes the ritual drink kaoma that the Saka Kaoma Varga drank. We encounter the same symbols in the Zhetysu Alatau and in the ruins of the Harappan civilization. By coincidence, both areas are called Semirechye, Sapta Sindhu in Sanskrit and Zhetysu in Turkic languages. In both cases, the numeral 7 also has a poetic meaning of many. That is, Semirechye in both languages means the land of many rivers. The ancient understood the importance of water for survival not worse than us and endowed the strategic resource with sacred meaning. The residents of Harappa that disappeared in the 21st century BC as a result of a severe drought learned it firsthand. Today we are drinking real ground coffee, gradually getting used to comfort, because we are traveling with a true professional cognitive tourism operator. Maxim, no littering. Pasha, it's not litter, it's just a dried apricot nucleus. If 10-12,000 years ago there was a 50-meter thick layer of ice here, who knows, maybe in 30 years, apricot groves will bloom here instead. You never know about this global warming, right? We are leaving the hospitable Aksu district. On the scale of distance, we have covered a little over 100 kilometers, but on the scale of time, we have leaped through millennia. We visited the Bronze, the early Iron and Middle Ages, as well as made a short stop in the 19th century that left a significant mark in the formation of the modern culture of the Kazakh people. It seems to us that we have become a little better aware of the historical events unfolding in our lifetime that someday will definitely excite the tourists of the future to come.